S22 Plus of last year, S23 Plus of this year. Not a whole lot of changes. Honestly, one of the most significant changes is just the fact that they took this camera bump off of the back. So now the S23 Plus, it has the more classic styling on the cameras. They took this away. Also, it doesn't, I don't think it wobbles as much, but still does a little bit if you have the phone flat on like a table or a desk or something. But talking about the phone, so not a whole lot of upgrades here. The biggest upgrades, probably other than the camera bump changing, are that we have the Snapdragon 8 Generation 2 in the S23 Plus versus the Snapdragon 8 Generation 1 in last year's S22 Plus. And that makes all the difference. That makes all the difference for me in any recommendation to upgrade or buy the S23 Plus. So, S22 Plus, it's actually a nice phone. And both of these phones nearly identical in most situations. We've got the 6.6-inch AMOLED display, 1750 nits brightness. They did change the selfie camera. So the selfie camera on the S23 series is the same across the board now. So when you take a look at the S22 Plus, 10 megapixel selfie, S23 Plus, it has a 12 megapixel selfie. So I do think the selfie camera is improved, and this is in all the S23 phones, the S23, the Plus, and the Ultra. Last year, the S22 Ultra had a better overall 40 megapixel selfie camera, and then the 10 megapixels were in the 22 and the 22 Plus. Now it's just a 12 across the board. It is better. It's better at nighttime photography and video stuff too, and that's something that's kind of important. They kind of changed this whole thing up with the S23 series. They have what they call nightography. That's just their fancy terminology they call for better nighttime photo and video. And I do think it's better. The cameras actually on the back are the same cameras, as far as I know. There's no real change there other than just the new image signal processor ISP in the S23 Plus. So that does kind of change how things are processed with the photos, and it allows for some other different things like better nighttime photography. So when you combine the Snapdragon 8 Generation 2, the AI and machine learning capabilities that got the bump in the upgrade, it does actually in some instances make for better photo with the same camera. So there's actually some more optimization there, and I think the cameras on last year's S22 are really good. So with the S23 having the same cameras, I don't have a whole lot of heartburn, but when you talk about a $1,000 phone, S23 Plus, well, yeah, it doesn't have the 108 like last year with the Ultra. It doesn't have the 200 megapixel like you get with the Ultra this year. So it's kind of a step down. And a lot of times when I talk about the Plus series phone, I have to kind of throw that in there because I don't really think it's a $1,000 phone. But if you bought last year's S22 Plus and you're happy with it, you'll probably be even happier with the S23 Plus. Why? Better battery. So they increased the milliamps. So you had a 4,500 milliamp in the S22 Plus. S23 Plus has a 4,700 milliamp. That right there helps give you about an extra hour when you combine it with just a general processor upgrade. But because the processor upgrade was so good with the Snapdragon 8 Generation 2, it actually gets you much, much better battery life. Like for instance, I've been using the S23 Plus. I've had it unplugged for like a day and a half now. I've got over 5 hours of screen on time. 44% battery left. The standby time is insanely better, even with always on display. Like it's not draining nearly as much battery. The Snapdragon 8 Generation 1 didn't do good once it started warming up because it would burn through the battery faster. It didn't have a good balance for heat and battery performance. So you have less heat issues, you have better overall performance, better power management, much better battery life in the S23 Plus. So that was my big problem with the S22 series. The battery life was not good. The S22, horrible. S22 Plus, not really all that great. So when you got the extra 200 milliamps, you got the Snapdragon 8 Generation 2, that is a big increase. So you're going to get several extra hours of screen on time and much better standby time, which is something that I'm personally getting. So those are some winning keys. Also, we got bigger battery, new Snapdragon 8 Generation 1. We got the better selfie camera, and we also have an increase in the storage. So baseline storage is 256 with the S23 Plus, as opposed to last year's 128. So there's some meaningful changes here. And also the screen is a little bit better. It's still not an LTPO, it's an LTPS screen, but from what I was reading and somebody informed me, I think it throttles down to like 24 hertz now instead of the 48 from last year. So that might be a slight improvement there, but I believe that was a change as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do think that was a change they implemented. So there are some meaningful changes here. If you like the S22 Plus, but you just weren't happy with the battery life, you just weren't happy with the performance, then the S23 Plus is going to be a big change in all the important areas that you probably were disappointed last year. So I can definitively say, I think the S23 Plus is pretty good upgrade over the S22 Plus. Now, the S22 Plus is still very good. It's supported, you got the original 4 years of operating system updates, 5 years of security patches. So that means you still got 3 years of operating system updates. It's going to go all the way to Android 16. I believe 16 anyway. We're on 13, so 14, 15, 16. Yeah. So Android 16. And then you're going to still get an extra security patch year beyond that. So by no stretch of the imagination do you need to get rid of the S22 Plus at all, right? So it's still good. And if you were getting good enough battery life for you, I don't really think you need to go out and upgrade. Like, it's just not that important. But if you were not happy with the S22 Plus for the reasons I mentioned, aka mostly battery life and just being able to get through the day, and also, if you want to play games on it, this is like otherworldly better. It doesn't heat up as bad. It lasts longer. You don't get the consistent frame drops as quickly. I mean, it still does throttle down some whenever you do extended gameplay. But yeah, overall, I think the S23 Plus, much, much better phone in several different areas. And the selfie camera was already pretty good with the S22 Plus, but it is a little bit better. And if you like nighttime photography stuff, then that is going to be a key improvement as well. Plus, it does 8K at 30 frames per second now, instead of just the 24 frames per second, if you care about shooting 8K, which is funny to me, because shooting 8K is already ludicrous to me on the S23 Ultra, right? S23 Ultra has a 1440p resolution screen, Quad HD+, so you're already shooting in a resolution basically way higher than the phone can actually natively represent. It's not even a 4K screen, and you're able to record in 8K, right? So basically, it kind of dumbs it and crops it down so you can see it. But yeah, it does record 8K. Then when you look at the S22 Plus, S23 Plus, 1080p. So it's just crazy to me. You've got a 1080p phone that you're able to record 8K video on. I mean, yeah. So if you're going to go ahead, you can still export it and you can edit it on, a computer that's capable of handling that level of resolution. You can display it on a Samsung 8K TV, all that crazy stuff. But overall, from the meaningful stuff, I think has been missed out on a lot over the last couple of years. We've been in such a rush to give like 120 hertz refresh rate. We've been in such a rush to get Quad HD and a 120 hertz refresh rate on the flagship phones. And that really does drain the battery. We've been in such a rush to be able to get always on display. There's just always these things that we keep doing that would drain more and more of the battery. So it's like we had these phones that Samsung made that had all these great features, but then the battery life was just not good, especially without having to turn on different battery savings modes. And you do have light mode now too, so if you want to use light mode, that'll even extend your battery even further, and there's really not even much of a noticeable difference in the day-to-day performance. So battery life, fantastic. It's got good haptic feedback. The screen is nice looking, 1750 nits peak brightness outdoors, same quality as the screen on the S23 Ultra this year. So yeah, there's been some things that like maybe just more silently upgraded than a lot of people think, but yeah, honestly, if I'm spending this kind of money, I'm still going with the S23 Ultra, which I have right here. When you're spending $1,000 for a phone, I don't like that it doesn't have a macro camera mode. I don't like that it doesn't have 120 hertz Quad HD+. I don't like that it doesn't even have Quad HD+. I don't like that it doesn't have the best camera that Samsung makes. I mean, these are just some little things that irk me in a $1,000 phone, right? $999 plus tax. For me in Texas, that's 8.25% sales tax. I got to spend $1,082 to get this phone. No, it's not worth that. Now, they need to worry about lowering the price. If they sold this at $799, it would sell like hotcakes. And they've had a price drop on the S22 Plus. I believe it's $750 now, which, I mean, if you're going to go out and buy one of these new phones, likely you're probably going to trade something in. So take a look at the trade-in values. Trade-in values have not been otherworldly great. If you're watching this the day that I released it, they're having the Samsung sales event right now. They've got extra trade-in value. They'll give you a free battery bank, which is funny. I posted something on Twitter about it earlier saying, it's hilarious to me they're giving away a free battery bank when now we finally have the first Samsung phone that doesn't need the extra battery while you're out away from the house. So anyway, just one of the life's small ironies. But overall, yeah, If you can get a good carrier deal, it's a fantastic phone. I just made a video comparing the S23 Plus with the Pixel 7 Pro, the OnePlus 11 yesterday. Feel free to check that out. I think it's very helpful in looking at some of these more like mid-range price flagship style-esque phones, as opposed to, okay, should I just go out and spend $1,000 on a phone? But if you're interested, if you like Samsung, if you like the thinner profile, if you like something more manageable, 6.6-inch screen, not as big and bulky, you don't need the S Pen, you don't care if it's got a 200 megapixel camera, I think it's a very good phone. And I think if you buy one, you're going to be very happy with it, as long as you don't care about the things that I care about, like having the best that you can get in the phone for $1,000. Again, they dropped it down to $799, like a lot more thumbs up for me in that department. But yeah, I really have a hard time recommending year-over-year upgrades, but if you were unsatisfied and had problems with the battery life on the S22 Plus, this fixes all of it, and it's a better package overall from a phone perspective. So I think it's worth the upgrade if you can go do a trade-in at your carrier, get it for free with trade-in, if you can get some significant discounts, or if you're just a tech enthusiast like me and you like to get the new phone every year. S23 Plus, absolutely, very, very good phone, just the hangups that I have. So that's all I've got. If you have any questions or comments, then please go down in the comment section. I'll get back with you. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching. I'll see you guys next time.